Okay.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of Keep the Mic On. As I am simply Sherry. And if you've been here with us before or you're just joining us recently since the start of the quarantine, we have been here every week having an interesting conversation with artists of all varying uh, areas and people in the arts. My brain just froze. My apologies. My week is called From Behind the Microphone, where we take a little time to get to know the artist behind the art, where we get to actually know, because poets and writers and photographers are people too. I am going to take a moment. I'm going to kick it over now to our other co-host, Ms. Girl Genius.
Hey y'all. So I am Danielle Reed, also known as Girl Genius, and my week is Let's Talk About the Book, where I get an author and pick their brain about their writing and process and things. And okay, so I'm privy to some things y'all can't see, and I can see our guest for this week in the background. We're gonna pull her in like 2 seconds. I'm just glad she's here.
Gang. I'm really excited about this one.
I am. Gang. I'm super excited.
We say that every week.
We do, but it's true every time though.
Every week,
because we get these bomb people to come in here and sit down and let us grill them for an hour or some change, and they still like us after we're done.
Exactly. And recommend the show.
Right? So if you.
One quick. Our other host, Charity Joyce Blackwell, she does Art Plus Therapy, where she talks about artists who use their art as a form of healing for themselves or for others. So I just wanted to make sure we threw that in there. And
I drank the glass. She pulled up the glass. I was like, I see you. Just trust me. You'll see who I'm talking about in 1 second. I got you.
I wish I had one now. I'm kind of mad. But we're not going to discuss earlier. All right. So everyone, we're ready to kick it to KaNikki.
Yes. I will do the whole, for me, it's this way. Way.
Go that way.
It's that way.
Did we do it already? Did Girl Jeans introduce herself then? What am I doing over here?
I did. I pick people's brains about books and topics and things and process, and that's what I do.
That's what you do. And with dope glasses every time you do that. So, hey, good people. I am KaNikki Jakarta, happily serving a 3-year term as the first Black Poet Laureate of Alexandria, Virginia. On here with these two amazing women who I always say can rule the world. You just don't know. So we've been doing this since March of 2020. Is that right, y'all? Okay. Since March of 2020, we have been doing this. We started, I put up a Facebook post and I said, hey, should we go virtual? And then Charity replied. We had a meeting that night and then we were live. The next week we were live, and didn't have a clue to what we were doing. Okay, so we interviewed each other, used ourselves as guinea pigs or veggie pigs, and then we've been on here and we've had, this has been an amazing platform. We're happy to be on StreamYard and be streaming now. So if you would like to support us, all of these things, these people who come on here with us, they volunteer their time for free. We pay to get this platform up. So if you would like for us to continue to keep the mic on, our Cash App is Keep the Mic On. So today I am so happy, honored, and thrilled and amazed and I don't even know what else to say to be interviewing a good friend of mine who we have been friends for 20 years now or more. I don't know how old are we, child? And I'm gonna kick her in, and you know how hey boo,
hi love.
So look at you, glasses is matching today. Look, you don't play.
We managed to pull ourselves. We managed to pull ourselves together, and these are the colors that worked.
Yes, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. So I love her to death, to life. I love her to life, and we always say we're always so happy to have amazing people on here. We do not choose these people lightly. People have coined us to having a master class. This is a master class for poetry. So I definitely we definitely want to keep bringing amazing people on, like Nina Brewton that we have up here today. So I'm going to read her bio and then we're going to ask her to do a piece. and then I'm going to interview her like I don't know her because I don't, you know what I'm saying? It's a trip when you know, like you meet people as friends, right? And they do so many amazing things. So sometimes you have to go and read their bio and figure out what it is that they're doing. Because, you know, sometimes y'all get together and y'all just be doing the friendly thing, but they're doing these amazing things. And I want to make sure that we kind of touch on all of these things in the time that we have allotted. So this, I have to say, this bio is the most poetic bio
you don't have to
that I have ever read.
I don't even know which one you're gonna read, because we have like a short one, a long one.
The poetic one. The poetic one. Yes.
Okay, so, let's see what you got.
Here we go. Light warms, providing a safe space. Light exposes blind spots and drives away shadows. Light leads us into a brighter future. She says, I am a writer who speaks. A writer who speaks and a speaker who sings. Mm-hmm. I have lived a life consumed by clouds of darkness and overcome the darkness to find the perfect peace, walking in light that was always there. Mm-hmm. In all I do, I aspire to inspire others to not only acknowledge the peace, love, and light are available to them, but to walk in these gifts as they learn to become all they were created to be. Light begets light and overcomes darkness effortlessly. I hope to always encourage others to be inspired as I am inspired. She is a sought after speaker, and she has found her story and personal triumphs as a beacon of light to motivate others. She currently lives in Chesapeake, Virginia with her husband. She is available for all new projects and collaborations. Give it up right now, already on your screen. Give it up for my girl, the bald head queen. That rhyme, Nina.
You couldn't even help yourself, because Poet Laureate, this is what you do. This is what you do. With that, thank you so much for that, KaNikki. It's a pleasure to be here. Excited to help keep the mic on. And I thank you all for the opportunity and the privilege to come and share some of my work. This piece is called A Gospel. This is that moment in life when cliches are more than mere rhetoric, and just do it becomes gospel. That moment when excuses sound easier than the plan, when sleep soothes the pain better than the idea of pushing to bring it to fruition. In this moment, yesterday's failure is either a costly wandering stream of spilled milk seeping into today, or the fresh breath of every possibility at birth. May your cries be declarations that this life will thrive. Less than 100 won't be enough today, yet you awake with barely 20. Where is your passion? Did you waste its value on a lover who was never yours to have? Or bury it beneath the weight of every regret you've ever consumed? No. Neither is it in the yesterday you left behind. It is within you, that spark nearly abandoned, extinguished by haunting doubts as the sun so graciously rises on your today. It inspires from within, breeding possibilities, waiting to take their first breath. Procrastination kills progress, but you're no murderer. Do not abort your dreams before you ever feel them kick. They are alive within you. Purpose made love to passion. Purpose made love to faith, creating your vision. And just because you have yet to see them, doesn't mean that they don't share your heartbeat. Now that lover, they're not coming back. But you're still here. Your regrets aren't as strong as the seed that is within you. They have no hands with which to hold on, so if they are still close, it's because you refuse to release them. So, run with all your might. Push with all you've got. Passion isn't meant for tomorrow. It's intended for each moment you wake. Dreaming is meant for sleep, but life is meant to be experienced on purpose. And as passion needs air to live, rediscover yours then. Let it breathe. Then go ye therefore, as you learn to just do it.
Ashe, 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 ashe. The lover is not coming back. but you are
Still
still here.
Yeah.
Ashe on that. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I had made a Facebook post and I said I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember exactly what I said, but said something about love, and I said love is worth the leap. I said the possibility of love is worth the leap, right? And to which my best friend from college replied, "Nope," right? So, and then so many other people, like when you as a hostess, right? So you are hostess of things, and you know when you start to talk about love, the resistance of that, right? And people always are complaining about not having love in their life or wanting to be in a relationship, but when people bring up love, right? Then the resistance happens, right? So, and I always say, if you want love, like bring that love to yourself, right? When you see other people together and you see what you think that is, right? You want to bring that to yourself. You want to keep in love and you want to keep in light. So, yeah. So I have to ask you all of the questions that I may know, all of the cliche questions I have to ask. And I know being a person who's interviewed several times and many times, you're always answering these same questions over and over again, right? You know, what started you to write? How long did you write? Who's your inspiration? And who's your favorite poet? So people really want to know those things, right? So we have to start somewhere before we delve into something bigger. So we have to start with people who want to know, who are aspiring writers, and they want to know how to get inspired to write. So I have to start with, what influences your writing?
Boy, let's see. I think it's always been, and I'm learning that it's getting back to, because it's amazing, even though I've been a writer for much of my life, from the time I was a youth, right? Little poems and starting there. I've always been a transparent person and self-reflective. And so I think that that's where it began. Just even having a place where I could write and discover my feelings and my ideas about things, right? This is pretty much what I've done that's what's inspired my writing, right? It's to share the things that I've learned along the way, the lessons that I've learned, the questions that I have, and things of that nature. So whether I'm writing, a memoir, or writing blogs, or writing poetry, it's often reflective and is an opportunity for me to take a look at my life, my upbringing, my experiences, and go from there. I have a ton of writers that I grew up reading. I tell people that I actually was reading like Terry McMillan and like Eric Jerome Dickey and Mark Mathabane and books that were way out of my realm of understanding in middle school. But it helped to grow me and mature me in a way that, right, was helpful as a writer, as a creative, and as an individual. It gives you, reading, of course, gives us new perspectives of the world, and it helps to expand our worldview. So I think that my love for reading is what also definitely inspired my love for writing.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Tag, you was reading Terry McMillan.
Honey, if my mom, and I think what happened is my mother was just happy that, she loves to read. Great. So my mother didn't read like that. So she's not keeping up with what I'm reading. I think I skipped from like the Babysitters Club straight into
Wow.
Trying to read. I remember in like 7th grade, I tried to read Toni Morrison. I tried to get into Toni Morrison, and I think I tried Song of Solomon, which I still haven't.
I have that. I still haven't mastered reading that yet.
Someone stole mine in 7th grade. Well, she borrowed it and never returned it. That Song of Solomon, jazz, and I was able to get through the Blue Aside then, and that just opened me up. That right there just.
Yes, I see. So listen, in your bio, it says that you are a writer who speaks and a speaker who sings, right?
Yes.
So the first time I heard you sing, the first time was at Urban Safari.
Yes.
And I didn't know you well then, but when you opened your mouth and started to sing, I was like, And what I heard you sing was Strange Fruit. Now, it's amazing that I remember that, right? Because it has been a good 19 years or so.
Literally, yeah.
Yeah, literally, when I heard you sing that, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, and then when I saw you, I was like, oh, and she does poems too. So she's not just, so I heard you sing first. Beforehand.
Yeah.
So do you look at yourself, because people tend to separate poets from spoken word artists, and since you say you're a writer who speaks, do you consider yourself a spoken word artist or a poet?
You know what? That's a really good question. Excuse me. And I've actually kind of asked online, like, because I don't follow typical poetic structure a lot of times. I think that I'm more of a spoken word artist as far as my writings in that case. And because I do encourage and speak, it's not always poems. I use my voice to share with others, whether it's a poem, a spoken word piece, or a song. And so I guess I would say between the two, I'd have to say that I am a spoken word artist. First, I guess I can say that. Coming up in that time that you mentioned, where we came to know one another, became familiar with one another, it was, the top of the 2000s when spoken word was really, from the 99 to 2000, spoken word was really, really picking up steam and popping off. And so I tell people a lot of times that I really kind of grew up on the scene. And so it would, while I started out writing, in my book, writing poetry, in my journals and things, the opportunity to learn how to perform and to grow with such a community, an amazing community of other spoken word artists, it helped to, while that culture was being built up and established and cultivated, I should say, I think I relate most to the spoken word artists than I do. I think that there's a little more free verse and a little more freedom as it pertains to being a spoken word artist. A lot of times when people think poet, they think, okay, we're thinking of the Langston Hughes and the Nikki Giovanni's, excuse me, Edgar Allan Poe's, where they have the traditional structure. The Rashid Copelands, while we end up the KaNikki Jakartas, right? And the people who write. But I like the freedom that comes with, and the flexibility, I think, that comes with being a spoken word artist specifically.
I definitely, I feel that nobody's answered it that way before, but that's a good way to this is like the best answer that I've gotten. Also, I got an answer from Talam when we interviewed him, and he said he's a poet, and spoken word is the type of poetry that he does.
I like that.
Yeah, so I was like, oh,
that sounds very
so these
like
two
Talam
answers have been.
That is a very Talam answer.
Yeah, it's a Talam answer, but I was like, oh. I was like, from now on, that's my answer. From now on, I'm using that. From now on. Yeah, I'm gonna take a note. On that. But definitely, when you mention like the form, like writing in poetry form, so that makes poet. You know what I'm saying? And then more freestyling or whatever gives you the spoken word. So I like that. I like the answer. I love it. Okay, so do you write your own songs and sing them places?
This is the thing. No. I honestly, I have never fully lent myself to songwriting or singing. So when I do sing, because I am a singer, again, writer who speaks, speaker who does sing, I can sing, I think is what it is. And so I will incorporate singing into pieces. And so there might be a little ditty here and there, but to really kind of lend myself to melodies and learning, and I haven't confidently done that just yet. And so I am the type of person, I will learn a song and I will pretty much sing that song like that until the wheels fall off. You might get a little ad lib over here and there, but no, I don't currently, I have not up to this point written songs really. There's a piano in there that I'm kind of toying with, but.
Okay, cool. Okay, let's talk about this. Let's talk about some acting situation. I read in one bio that you do some acting and things. So you've been in some plays or things, or what has happened with the actress side?
Okay. So as an actress, amazingly enough, I've always kind of, since high school and things, I've dabbled in stage here and there. I've been blessed to play various characters here in the Tidewater area of Virginia. That's in southeastern Virginia near Norfolk, for those of you who may not be familiar. Shout out to 13, my brother 13 in Nazareth from down here in Norfolk. And I have been blessed to participate in various productions here locally. In addition to that, I played The Wiz. I played, different parts in The Wiz, literally The Wiz, and then other parts in The Wiz. I regularly play, even still, the jazz vocalist. I am, I guess you could say, a Pearl Bailey impersonator. So I will put on wigs, and because Pearl Bailey's from Newport News, Virginia. So about 12 years ago now, I was, somebody said, you got it. I wrote this piece, and it's about all the Black legends, right, from Newport News. Like, they wanted to honor the people, the Ella Fitzgeralds, the Pearl Baileys, there's a few attorneys, Dory Miller. There's a number of people from the area. And so someone approached me and said, I think that you'd be a great Pearl. What do you think about that? I was like, sure, because Pearl is as sassy and comical, and she's honestly, I wish she were alive, because I told her, even though she looks like Queen Latifah, I think I got her down and I can sing her pieces. So
Wow.
I'm good at this and that. So yeah, I've done a few things around the way. In addition to that, I've done work with a few production companies here in the area, and literally, so we've done some work with Discovery over the years and played parts in, like, crime recreations and things like that. You have agents, they'll find you all kinds of work. So y'all will see me in some random, performances, excuse me, in, reruns of Discovery shows, How to Catch a Killer or whatever those different things are called. And, when you get a new job and you have to watch like workplace safety videos, also that. So I've gotten checks from all of those. The most random acting, yeah. So there may be jobs that y'all end up getting, and you're in HR, so you may have some people have to go watch it, and then randomly my face comes up in workplace safety.
Wow, amazing! How in the world did that happen? Who called you and said, "Hey"?
My agent was like, I do have an agent that I've worked with down here for some years now, Sylvia Hudson, and so we've done some work, and that's been over the years. So, but yeah, definitely random. Street safety, all sorts of things.
Speaking of random, a few years back, I'm riding home with my husband in the car. I turn on the radio, which I usually don't listen to commercials, right?
Right.
I turn on the radio and I hear someone that sounds like Nina Brewton on a commercial, right? So right after that, I call you or I text you or something, and I say, hey, I heard this person on the radio that sounds just like you. Yeah. She was like, girl, that is me. Like, what? Yes. See, you would never think about the possibilities of what your friends can be doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then, that's a testimony in itself. Like, I didn't even think, and Nina has a very distinct voice, right? So I didn't even, in my mind, I didn't even think that that's her. I thought someone who sounds like you is on the radio. So I say, never ever estimate your friends, because you never know what they're doing, right?
Look,
you never know.
This is the thing, we talk a lot about securing the bag and so on and so forth, and I think that a lot of times as creatives, and I'm even having done all the random things that I do as a creative entrepreneur, I think that a lot of times even I've limited we limit ourselves in what we're able to do. As creatives, we're thinking, I'm a writer, I'm a poet, so I got to look to do that. But I'm also a host. I'm also, like you said, an actor. There are so many different ways that we can use our talents. And I think that a voice talent is one of those things that a lot of us don't consider. You look at someone like Cree Summers, that sister has had so much work, voiceover work, from Disney to Nickelodeon. The sister I can't even count how many characters she has. And she's one of those people that now you can hear her voice on a Rugrats cartoon or something. You're like, is that Freddy from a different world? That's not like Freddy. Right? And it is. And it's just a matter of really being able to expand our view of exactly what all is available for the creative and the ways that we can use the different talents and tools that we have, whether it's our voice, whether it's our hands as hand models, right? We don't think about, there are different types of models. There are different types of voiceover talents and things like that. So I'm just in a place where I'm embracing being a multi-hyphenate or a multi-potentialite and really trying to lean into those things.
Okay. And speaking of which, what is a cultural mentor? I read that on the bio too.
Very good. So a cultural mentor is, I like to think of that as someone, we're always building culture. When we look at the things that, whether it's in our creative world and, our creative communities, if it's within the Black community, within the, as women, right? We have these various cultures that ultimately we are building. So my goal is I do work with young people, and I love middle schoolers. One, because they're at this transitional period in life, right? Where they need all the support that they can get. One. Two, they have to, it's my hope to help them to, again, help them see who they are in the world and the ways that they can impact the world. Just with their lives, simply by being who they are and tapping into the things that they see, the visions that they see for their lives and the ideas and the things, and try to help guide that. So culturally, we are, it's an ongoing, we're continuously building culture and cultivating the cultures that we find ourselves in. And so I consider myself a mentor in that. Whether I'm teaching life skills, social skills, we're talking self-care, we're talking, how we better maintain our emotions and things, because again, middle schoolers. And my hope is to help them recognize these things long before they ever become even young adults, so that they can start having, a stronger and healthier perspective of who they are and what they're capable of doing in the ways that they're able to impact the world as they grow. So that way they're not 40 trying to sit up, and connect all these dots, right? These things that we've seen in ourselves for all these years. But, we come from a generation, and their parents come from a generation that is, get a job, go to school, get a job, like your life, you retire, you ride it till the wheels fall off. Like, no, there are ways that, one of the questions that I ask, I stop asking youth what they want to be when they grow up, but like, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? Who do you want to be?
Oh yeah, that's a better question.
Yeah.
That is a better question.
Yeah. So cultural mentor, it encompasses all of that. My goal is to cultivate and help mentor people to help cultivate the culture that we find ourselves in, the various cultures that we find ourselves a part of.
Yeah. And those middle schoolers, I don't do a lot of like in school, but honey, I did middle school in Durham, and I was talking, the teacher was introducing me and talking about me and what's a poet laureate and blah blah blah. And then the girl was like raised her hand. She's like, okay, how much money do you make doing this? That's what I'm like.
What I'm trying to see is, can I get
12? I'm trying to figure out, how much money you gonna make doing this.
And it's so crazy because they literally, but you think about it now, especially with the whole influencer life and celebrity culture, right? While we're talking about culture, securing the bag is their goal. Like, what can I do to make the most money? When I tell them, I'll give them, 3 minutes or 6 minutes if we're in class, in person or whatever, they can't be too long, but I'll give them time and like just really try to get them to this dream, whatever you can possibly come up with, like who you want to be, what you want to, I don't care, the house you want to, how many dogs, how many trees you want, like whatever you can possibly see for your life, write it down. Okay. And so we do that because, I think I just lost my train of thought. It just went that way.
Yeah. I mean, we do that so that, let me help you out. We do that so that we can determine what it is that we want to do instead of who it is that we want to be. Because as we know, at 40, you have been several different people. You know what I'm saying? You're not the same. You're not going to be the same. And that's what, school teaches you. It's like you go to school and you pick a degree and then you do that one thing. But by the time you get 30, what you wanted to do when you were 19, you don't want to do anymore. You know what I'm saying? You thought you wanted to do that thing, right? So the goal is that you know that you can keep recreating yourself over and over, because the experiences in life change you to who you are, but may also change what you do, right?
Yes. So, and the thing is, and to bring my point back, thank you, you're so good at this. The thing, you better bring it back, securing the bag. So I'm trying to get them to see that in all the things that you want to do, seek those things, seek the things that you seek the things that you, right, thank you. Oh, and there, go over there.
Right over there.
That make your heart come alive, right? The things that make you feel big and make you feel like you're alive and walking in purpose, right? And there's passion within you. The bag will come. You'll get the money, right? Again, I could have, had I had the confidence to go forward in the things that I have and know now, we'd have been securing bags.
Right.
Let's try, we playing catch up, right? So again, you made a point again about the making money. One of my students, I think it was last year, were asking, what do you want to do? Who do you want to? And they thought, or I recently read it somewhere. Anyway, they were thinking, they said that they knew that they wanted to be a nurse because all they'd ever seen, their aunt was a nurse and she was the most successful person financially in her family that she'd ever seen. So for all her life, she thought, I want to be a nurse. And went, yes, I was reading something. It wasn't one of my students. Now it's all coming back to me. But she, I got to be a nurse. I got to be a nurse. And finally got into nursing school, did the whole thing, and got in and was like, I hate this. I don't want to do none of this. I want to do none of this. And but that's where, we see, especially for those of us who may have been raised in less than stellar conditions or in financially unstable homes and whatnot. It is. It's easy to get caught up in just wanting to make the money and, going and securing a good job. And again, my goal is to help young people see that whatever you want to do, the money will come. And once you have a clear vision of what it is that you want to move forward and do, then the doors will just swing open and you'll find yourself in a flow like you've never experienced. And you can start that early. You don't have to wait until you're in your 30s, like you say, to be able to do so.
Right. So speaking of money, I also read somewhere that you are a benefit fundraiser.
Yeah, I do a bit of that.
What do you do? What's that mean?
So for the past 5 years or so, about 5 years ago, I began working with companies who provide mobile technology for fundraising events. So if there's a fundraising gala and there's a silent auction, right? Back in the day, you'd write your bid on the item. I want this laptop. I'm going to write my bid, and whoever's was at the end of that list with the highest bid at the end of the night won. Well, the way, as technology advances, there are companies out here now who actually I wanted to make this as quick as possible. Basically, you're at an event, you swipe a credit card, you get your information into a system, you can bid from your phone. We literally text you a link, you can bid from your phone all night. So for years, I would travel and manage the fundraising portion of events and help organizations raise thousands and thousands and sometimes billions in a night of dollars because folk got I've been in a room with some crazy money.
Wow.
People, dropping on their favorite, birder. These are bird watchers in New York City or a private school in Kentucky, but people are raising money. And I was blessed to be able to do that. During that time, I saw a woman, I would see auctioneers because there's often a live auction portion, right, as well. So now we have the big trips that people are going for. And, sometimes a car will be in the room and people are looking to, we're auctioning off this car for the cause and whatnot. And I started watching these auctioneers and I saw this one particular woman who was so impactful. And I mean, she was entertaining, she was hosting, she was done, she's talking to the people. And I mean, she's like, okay, can I get $5,000? Can I get $550? It's like she's in it. I'm like, oh, I think I could do this. Like I could do this. I'm like, how does one even become an auctioneer, right? So I start Googling auction, how to go about doing that. And long story short, 2 years ago, this week, as a matter of fact, I think it's in my memories, I actually went out to Denver, Colorado. I attended auctioneer school. There's schools for all of that. And I learned it and was going to use my talents as I learned and to perfect my chant, as they call it, right? I have the list I'm still working through, and there's been wine, so we won't do that tonight. But we'll try it tonight. But I came out of 2019 ready to rock and into 2020 and was ready to extend my work as an entertainer and as a host, and now as a trained auctioneer, and begin to help organizations raise money. And then, of course, COVID hit, so it kind of shut everything down. So I put it on the back burner for now, but it's still there. And I'm still very, very much interested in it. And I have a heart for helping organizations raise money to do the work that's important to them. Because, we look at, especially in times of like recession and the times that we've been in with COVID and things like that, and people losing jobs, we don't think about the fact that nonprofits are also losing money. They're also losing employees. They're also, they can't have the fundraising events that they've always had every year or twice a year to raise money. So it is my hope that as we can continue to move forward, I'll be able to, find my footing and find ways to continue helping people do that work.
You will. Speaking of hostess, what is the job of a host?
I like that. I think the job of a host. I feel like Miss America. I think the job of a host is to I serve as I like to tell people that I serve as a liaison between my client and their audience. So it's my goal to help transition the evening and to help create an atmosphere and an event that brings the client's vision, and it meets the client's vision and then the guest vision for their attending, right? It meets them in the middle. We're the glue that holds it all together, right? And keeps the transitions going, and we keep everyone in the loop and informed, and we bring the vision of the event to fruition. I honestly do believe that. Of course, we have the event planners and the coordinators and all the people who play their part, but I think that when it comes time to execute it, it's the host's job to be able to do that and to bridge the gap between our guests and our client. So yeah.
How is being a host? Because did you start hosting first, or did you start being poetry first?
That's a good question. Wow. This is me trying to go back to, because I can remember my first time being on a mic with poetry. That was comedy, and that was back at home before I moved out here, before I joined the Air Force, like any of that. And so I would say I probably started. I think I started hosting first, because I would do little things here and there, even at home. I would, host different events. This was so in my early 20s, late teens even. And hosting has kind of always been there. And even back when Safari was still going on, I had a little open mic in Hampton, just outside of Langley. So at a restaurant called Sweet Babies. That's all this. And ironically enough, that lady was from my hometown. Like, we ended up meeting by
hometown, like Wichita, Kansas.
Wichita, Kansas. Yeah.
Wow.
Sister, I don't even remember how I came. Oh, someone was looking for her. She was looking for her, and someone was like, "Oh, my friend Nina does that." And so, yeah, so hosting, I think so. And if you were to ask, in case you do, I think hosting is probably my favorite thing to do. Honestly, it's definitely one of my favorites. And again, because of the capacity that we get to serve in. And as a host, if I want to throw in a poem, I can, right? So that works.
Yeah. So, yes. Was the Wicked Witch of the West living in Wichita, Kansas when you were living in
God inherit every iteration of Wizard of Oz jokes you could ever ask for. When I first moved here, I had a cousin that was stationed at Langley at the time as well. So we were hanging out. She's an AKA. So she took me to like an Omega Mardi Gras, right? Like a big party on campus at HU, and for all the alumni. And this brother was trying to holler, and girl, he said, "Oh, you from Kansas?" I was like, "Yeah, you know, small talk." He said, "Can I play like Toto and follow you around all day long?" That was a good one, sir. That was a good one.
Come on, Paula.
So to which I replied, "You may go buy me a drink." And then we'll see where the rest of the night goes. And no, he didn't follow me no more. No, sir, you may not. But that was good. I'll give you that. It was one of the most unique ones in country, because I want to play like Toto and follow you around. He said.
Hilarious. Okay. Yes, that was a good answer about hosting. I love that. I like to ask people who host that. And actually, I asked that because I was having a conversation with my good friend. I keep on the back here. Lorna is right there. Lorna is right there. And we were having conversations about hosting, and she was like, the job of the host is to control the energy.
That's
I
it.
was like, oh,
That's
you're
good.
right. That is. So that's why I always ask people that, because I always go back to the to that conversation that we were having about hosting, and she's always talking about the host making the show about them.
Yeah.
All the time, and she was a great person to help with the transition, and she was great at that. It was a wonderful thing. So I always I throw that question in because of her every time, and I keep it right here on my right shoulder.
Look at me with my notes again.
With a little note. So girl,
Lorna, I have one of her cards.
Yeah.
I have one of her cards. I need to put it up here. I need to find a frame for Tony. And then maybe I can put her and Lorna. And thank you. Somebody said they like my background too. So yeah, maybe we'll find, because I sure do. I need to find a little frame for Lorna, because I do.
Yes, you need to.
So
let me see. You do so many things. I don't know if I missed one thing, but so before I tell everybody that you're also an author, do you have any other talents that we haven't touched on?
I clean a really good home.
Okay. Gotcha.
I can keep a clean home.
That's what I'm saying.
And I'm a great server. I love serving. Look, I will wait a table too.
And I can wait a table.
I can wait a table. It's all performing. It's all the same.
It's all the same. It is. So that little square that we see that's clean, if we turn your do it around, you're gonna be still clean the whole way around. Because you know how they talk about, they put those beams up and they say that one space where you're looking at the camera is clean. The rest of the house is a disaster, right? So my whole house is clean. I keep a clean house.
That corner is a little chaotic right now, but
that's it.
For the most part, I hold it together.
you get your house clean. Cool. So I know first before, let me back it up for a minute. Why the bald head queen?
Yes, the bald head queen.
I actually don't even know. So
yeah, right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Really, it's a matter of, because growing up in the 80s, and 90s, the worst thing that a woman could be called was a bald head anything.
Ooh, you hear me.
And honey, when I tell you, I was every bald head.
And your mama.
And your mama. And I tell people, I said it's the equivalent of telling a brother your mama on the basketball court. Like, you call a sister a bald head, scallywag, heifer, whatever, then it's gonna be a problem. And I've had a few problems because I've been pretty much bald head my whole life. So honestly, I grew up with from the time I was 4 to 10. 3, 4 to 10, I was with my brother and I were with my single father. And then my mother is biracial. So from 10 on, we living with her. She didn't know what to do with my hair later. He didn't know what to do with it before. Literally, by the time I was in kindergarten, I had what is now known as the big chop, because my hair, I had already had relaxers. At 4, because my father didn't know, he's trying to tame my hair, and the people are like, oh, you need to do this with the baby's hair, you need to do that. So my hair was fried before I ever even made it to kindergarten. And so in my little kindergarten picture, in my wicker chair, my little plaid dress and ruffled shirt, blouse, I have a little TWA, got my little afro, sitting pinkies up. Over the years, things just didn't get better. So after being called bald head for so long, right? And first in buckwheat and Don King and all the things, and struggling with self-image, bald head queen is something that came up. Shout out to Cabana Black, because not only did he give me the name bald head queen, no, because Queen Nina. I've been Queen Nina for years. And then I think when Twitter came along and things, a bald head queen ended up being my name there. And then, of course, Instagram followed that. Now, I took that and said, okay, I may be bald head, but y'all gonna call me queen. That's basically where that came from. Like, I'm gonna be who I am, and I'm most comfortable with as little hair as possible, clearly. And it's a whole thing for me. It looks great. I wish I'd have had time to go and trim it down because it's a little too long for me even now.
Wow.
But yeah, because I can't get to my real barber. So if I can't get an edge up, then I just cut it all the way down so I don't have to worry about no edge up. That's where I am right now. So until I can learn to edge myself up. So yeah, bald head queen. That is where that came from. I just kind of embraced it and kept it moving.
Okay. So then you published a book, Dramas of a Bald Head Queen, and then you have Heart of a Queen, Poetry and Pose from the Soul.
Where's my stuff? Yeah,
I have Bald Head Queen. I don't have this other book. What are these books about, child? Are they in print? Can we buy them? Where are they?
Yeah. Okay. So here's the deal.
Bald Head Queen I got from like 2012 or 13.
Yes, and that's exactly probably about where I left it. So this is what happened. As I know, this whole self-publishing process can be a lot. And so Dramas of a Bald Head Queen, I'm really mad that I cannot put my eyes on that book right quick.
And I have it too. I should have digged it out, but
girl, we better than this. What in the world? Anyway, it is on Amazon. It is on Amazon right now. I am working on a rewrite and re-release because my goal is to re-release it next year. Is the 10th anniversary of it because yes, 2012 it is. And so what Dramas of a Bald Head Queen is dramas being a series of conflicting events and forces, which is just life, right? Right or wrong, heaven or hell. Do I cut my hair? Do I go natural? Do I keep relaxed? Like, what do I do? Right? It's always conflicting forces, love, joy, pain, all of that, right? And so what dramas are, and this is the name that was given to me by Cabana Black, because back in the day I used to share all of my life and my antics with him and my friend Tiffany. And so we were out one night and waiting to get a table at Applebee's or something, and I was telling him about my life and all the things, and he said, Lord, here we go with the Dramas of the Bald Head Queen. And like the moment he said it was like, oh. And for years I've been teasing like, oh, it'll be in the book, honey, it'll be in the book. It'll be in the book, right? That story, it'll be in the book. And that night it clicked, like, that's the name of my
That's
book.
the name of the book.
That's the name of the book. And it took me years to write it after that night. But that is what started it. And Dramas of a Bald Head Queen is, in fact, a memoir. And so what it does is it just gives insight to, again, as I mentioned at the top, when you were asking, what inspires me to write, is that it is an opportunity for me to share the lessons that I've learned, share a bit about my upbringing, my family, my issues with my mother and her issues around mental health, and my father and his issues, him growing up out of alcoholism and womanizing, and the ways that all of that has impacted me. And I think that what's amazing and what I am looking forward to as far as a rewrite is concerned is having it from having an opportunity to now look back with greater insight into who I am and what I've learned about even my parents and even my mother having passed years ago. I've learned more about her and in turn more about who I am. And so I'm looking forward to that rewrite next year. And just being able to share and see what exactly happens and whether or not it even be a rewrite or if it's just going to be a whole other situation, right? Years ago, when the book came out, I had an editor that I'd worked with. He did a terrible job. I mean, awful. Bless his. And I admired him as a writer, And so I made the mistake of not going back and editing behind him after he did his part. And so one day, it had to have been a couple months after the book was released, I was doing speaking engagements, or, the books were selling, I was advertising, and I had never read through the whole book. I had released it, had a party, and never actually sat down and read the thing once it was in my hand. Okay?
Wow.
Speaking of transparency. And so when I go to a speaking engagement and I go to read an excerpt from a chapter that I know I love and I want to read, I'm stumbling over the words. And I'm like, what? This doesn't sound like me. And I realized he literally edited and made it. He took his his writing and his editing in academia, and he took away my run-on sentences and my ellipses and all of the things that make my voice mine.
Wow.
And I did not. And so what ended up happening, this is the way that old devil be working. Okay. So from here, I found myself extremely discouraged and then shamed because Nina, you should have, why didn't you? Right.
Mm-hmm.
For years, not only have I not really been promoting the book, right? Even though people who have read it, they love it and it's a great story and they love it. But shame has just kept me not only back from taking the time to read that, but writing at all, KaNikki.
Wow.
I found myself over here in my head and shook to write because I'm like, go to 5 minutes. You know.
Wow.
So we've got big goals to press on.
The dramas of self-publishing, because when I published my novel that you probably have, the in real life that you were reading, I think you may have the unedited version that I printed, and I bought, didn't go back and see what I was sending to the printer to print, and printed the unedited version, like 500 books or 200 books or something of what that I couldn't afford to go back and print more. Yeah. So I said, please, all my friends, please buy this unedited version because now I have a book that I really don't want to promote because it has all my typos and this, because you're taught as a writer not to edit and write at the same time. Right. So I didn't go back and check to make sure that I was sending the right thing. This is like problems. These are good notes for people who are getting ready to publish, which I just did a manuscript and marketing workshop yesterday. And I said, the biggest mistake of publishing is not like rushing the process. Like stop rushing the process. Don't put a time. Don't start your journey with, I want to publish my book in June. No, then you rush unless the book is done.
Why you got to pick my month? Because it was June. Why you in my business? Yes, it was June, and I had a venue reserved for a party, and so we.
Oh my god!
Okay.
Oh my god! Yeah, that is definitely lessons for people who check and double check, edit and re-edit. Make sure it's your voice. Yeah, make sure you're sending the right document. It's a lot to go in it because this is the reference, and this was like I had a poetry book, but this was my first novel, right? So it's the first representation of you, right? And you're like, oh my god, right? So then you see what can happen. So listen, don't be a KaNikki and a Nina. Make sure that you get your life together. You know what I'm saying? Don't be us. You know what I'm saying? Don't go through dramas of us and then you name the book Dramas of a Bald Head Queen. So that's part of it. So when you do the rewrite, start off with that story of what had happened was.
I sure have.
What had happened was.
And literally, I'm so glad that you brought all this up. And it's good to know that I'm not alone. And I do remember that. And I remember full transparency reading it. And I was like,
what's happening?
I know KaNikki's better than what is the deal?
Where's the editor in this situation? But it's a good story.
Yeah, great. It was great. So I'm glad you said that because when I published, after all of this came up about myself, I was like, oh, KaNikki, I'm sorry, I get it now. I understand. But we get so caught up in, like you said, like setting a deadline, which is good. I mean, we want to give ourselves timelines to work by, but we don't allow ourselves grace in that thing. And that's one of the greatest lessons I've learned in this whole past 18 months or how long we've been in this jank, right? We got to give each other, we got to give ourselves grace. We give the world grace a lot of times, and we fail to extend it to ourselves. And as creatives, it can be detrimental. It really can, because like I said, here I am all these years later, still coming up out of my little hole I've been hiding in, because I've been over here shook over
that, right? And then see here other people thinking it's great because I read it, I have it, I thought it was a great book. You know what I mean?
But you know, it's like my teachers used to tell me, like I could turn in an A paper at the last minute, but they're like, but Nina, if you would have just put forth a little more effort, you could have got a whole A+. Like you could have, you know what I'm saying? Like you say, slow down, be more intentional. And one of the things that I know was also a problem for me is that a lot of times I know that writers, we do write in isolation. Okay, we spend a lot of time alone, but one of the things that I realized is that while I know all these writers, I don't have a writing community that helps, and that like I can send this idea to, I can send, you know, like to get feedback from. I literally sat and I just had my head down. I wrote the book all by myself, and I produced it, you know, published it all by myself with the one editor. But it didn't occur to me to ask you to read over it, to ask 13 over it, to reach out to other writers that I know who are writing books that are similar to me. And I think a lot of times with me personally, this is something that I know I've been having to grow through, and it's revelation I've just received again here in my 40s, that I have a difficult time feeling as if I'm a burden to other people. And so reaching out and saying, hey, could you assist, you know, could you read this? I don't want to bother folks. I want to bother. Y'all find people that you can bother. You need people to go through life with in general. But if you have tasks and visions, seek to find the people that will help you bring that vision to fruition.
And believe it or not, people will be happy to help you.
They're there. And I've had people recently like, why didn't you email me? I'm like, because I didn't know.
Yeah. Exactly. Because you know why? We might be the light, but we be tripping. Okay, that's
tripping. We be the light and be over here hiding.
We be the light, but we be tripping. That's you are
hiding.
Yes. I'm telling you. Yes. Okay. So we went off on a whole. That's but you know what that is? That's God, right? So that's God, because somebody needed to hear that. So that's, you know, this wasn't even part of the whole thing we were supposed to be talking about, but that's God, because somebody's on here listening and they're gonna watch the playback and they're gonna say, hey, that's me. Let me slow down.
Yeah.
And yes. So that's what's gonna happen. Okay. So do you think that the internet and social media is contributing to the well-being of poetry?
Yes.
How so? How so do you think that?
Okay. One, because we have greater access to poets. We have greater access to writers. We can find a writing community through Twitter, you know, through hashtags, through, you know, Follow Fridays and whatnot. I think that there are a lot of people who learn what haikus are. They learn the different forms of traditional writings and things like that, because there are people who might share a poem every week or every day, or we're sharing our work. So the fact that we now have platforms to display our work and to share it, it is definitely for the better. I honestly believe so. Just because of the people that we can reach and the communities that we can reach that may never be exposed to poetry in this way. So yeah.
Yes. Okay, let's circle back to your other book that I don't have, The Heart of a Queen, Poetry and Prose from the Soul. Yes, child. You have that one?
I do have this one. This one happens to be right here. Yep.
So this is also available. That's so pretty.
Thank you.
I remember when this photo came out.
I love this photo. Yeah. Shout out.
And with the queen, the whole thing, it is beautiful. Yeah. So is this book also available on Amazon? Where can we find it?
It is available on Amazon, and I need to quit being a punk and just go ahead and put links back up on my website, and if people happen to find it. But no, so that at least the traffic goes through webethelight.com. But no. It is this is my second book. So this came out in 2013, and I love this because it's literally I think my first poem that I ever wrote. Well, not that I ever wrote, but one of my early ones that was like I was 13. Right, that's in here, and then there's the one that I did this afternoon, a gospel, I think is also here. So yeah, we have some. Is that one in here? Did I just lie? It all runs a blur. But yeah, so I have some from as far back as the late 90s into the 2000s. And so it goes from, it gives a bit of everything. A few love poems, love lost, of course, and his struggles with myself and who I am or was during the time.
Was and is. So many of you may not know, but Nina and I are married to some wonderful men, and we got married on the same day. I remember sending her a text or email or something and saying, "Hey, so Thursday and I are getting married. Come to our wedding." And she said, "Hey, I would come, but I'm also getting married on that same day." So we've been talking about we were going to celebrate our anniversary together for years, and we never do. It's
going down. It's going to happen.
It's going to happen. One of these days, we're going to all be together for this anniversary situation.
It'll be
so
great.
I want to know, when you married, did it change your writing? Did you start writing about love and marriage, or change your perspective in a way?
Not at all. Actually,
not at all.
I have not written about any of that. No, not any poetry. Now that I think about it, and I really have no reason. It's funny you asked that, because I've actually, in the back of my mind, have had thoughts to write a poem about the fact that I don't have any poems about my husband or my marriage. What's that about?
Ironically enough, I feel like I wrote a couple of lines about love or feelings of that or whatever, but I don't have a poem that I have written specifically for my husband and things. But didn't do any poems at the wedding. Everybody was shocked. I was like, this is about marriage. This is not about no poems.
Today. Y'all ain't we paid to have y'all here. Y'all not paying us.
Exactly. Y'all not paying. That's what I'm saying. Like,
this ain't no feature.
One of these days I'm going to write a poem.
Yeah.
That could be, my husband's birthday is coming up. That could be his birthday present. I don't know. I might write him something. See, I have inspired myself to do some things.
Be inspired as I am inspired, girl.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So what are you doing right now, Nina? Right now, what are you doing? Okay, let me preface this by saying, you know how you go to these workshops, right? And in these workshops, people say, what would you tell your younger person? Or people interview you and say, what would you tell your younger self, right? So I'm like, forget the younger self, because you can't go back and tell young Nina nothing. Okay? So I'd rather do the writing prompt, which I'm going to turn into a question for you. What are you doing right now that your older self is going to thank yourself for?
You're good at this. I like it. Thank you. More notes.
More notes. I got to be doing some more stuff. Okay.
Okay. So what am I doing right now that my older self will thank me for? I'm writing again. Like I said, I found myself kind of paralyzed for the past almost a whole decade. Like I said, there's been a poem to get out here and there. But in doing the work that I need to do now, that I should have done years ago, right, to deal with shame and to deal with, and not just around writing, but in life in general. And like I mentioned, the burden, not wanting to feel like a burden, and the overthinking and over explaining, I do a bit of that, right? So I think that the best thing that I'm doing right now is being more self-reflective than ever, and allowing myself the grace to grow in new ways, and really learning what it means to be gracious with myself. And what I've learned is that when, grace is something that we kind of throw around, it's kind of even, right? But what that means to me is that I am allowing myself space to apply the lessons that I've learned. That's it.
That's amazing.
The goal is, okay, if I recognize these things, these new revelations that I'm having about myself, right, to really do the work to begin to unpack that now, so that when I'm 52, I'm not dealing with the things that I'm dealing with now at 40, right? Because there are some things that I'm still dealing with now at 42 that I had at 32.
Right.
So I don't want to carry that on. I want to be more intentional. I am learning now to be more intentional about all of the things that I see for myself and that I aspire to do. So that way, older self will be proud of the things that I've done.
Mm-hmm. Ashe, I love it. And now you're gonna go and think about some more stuff, and then you're gonna be seeing. Because I always tell the ladies in the workshop, I always say, if you have nothing to write, you have something to think about, because then you have, it makes you have to do something now. Now I have to do something, right?
Yeah.
You have to do something now. So
yeah,
it is a good thing. Okay. Let me see. I want to make sure I got all these questions in, because of course we know I wanted to, talk about you as a person and what you do first, right? So then of course this week is called Poets and Platforms. So now let's talk a little bit more about your platform. So you have a platform. It is called We Be the Light. Yeah. Why are we the light? What kind of light are we? What are we talking about? What does that mean, Nina Brewton? What does that mean?
Oh, at the very top of my very poetic bio, you did read that light warms. It provides a safe space. It exposes and drives away shadows, and light leads us on a path toward a brighter future. And so We Be the Light is something that I created. The goal is to, one, it started out as like a cute hashtag, right? Like, beam, I'm on Twitter. Beam, I'm feeling good. Beam, like, ooh, that blessed me. Beam, I'm happy, right? I'm inspired. I'm here. But what I, over the years, what We Be the Light has become is just an opportunity and a place for me to show people the power that they have within them. Much like I mentioned earlier about the middle schoolers, it's just giving people an opportunity. Let me say this. You like me, right? Alabama girl. So of course you grew up, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, right? But everywhere that I go, I'm gonna let it shine. But what does that mean? So literally my goal right now is to be light. That is to be a safe space for people, to help people expose the blind spots that they have in their minds, right? In their view of the world, their perspectives of the world, right? There are a ton of people, being from Wichita, Kansas, a lot of people, my Facebook people, particularly my Facebook community, these are the people from homes. There was a whole lot of white folks, right? They love me, but they don't understand my full life as a Black woman. When I share things on Facebook about, we talk about racial, my experiences as a Black woman specifically, they're like, oh my God, I never heard you talk like this before, because you didn't come to my side of the town. I came to your house, right? You didn't get to know me. As a Black woman, you know me as your classmate. You know me as you don't see the times that the cops have pulled me over and that this. And so these perspectives and these limited views that people have, part of what I do is to help expose that. And I have my own blind spots. We all have our own blind spots and things, right? So my goal is to help people see the light, see the world from a brighter perspective, a different perspective, and shining my light helps to do just that. I believe that there's a way to move forward. I'm good for checking folk. We're gonna we're gonna say what we need to say, but I'm gonna do it in love. And that's one of the things that I've learned to do, is to do so in love. And even as I'm carrying a lamp on the path forward, the goal is to do that. And again, with as much grace as possible. One of the things that I've done is I've created, for example, 9 ways to show up as light in the world, right? So 9 ways to show up as light in the world. We practice community care. Okay, we practice one of the things that I love to do, that I show up as light, I'm able to, and this helps me deal with my own blind spots and biases. If I see, we'll use somebody with, people with these American flags on their cars and carrying stickers and bumper stickers and things. Originally, and sometimes still, it triggers me, right? It hits you. But what I've learned to do is recognize that we've all been conditioned, particularly in America, to live in this culture that we live in, right? These racist systems. So just using this as an example. So when I show up as a light, then now what I'm doing is I don't have to say nothing to that person, but what I can do is I can send peace, love, and light towards them. Lord, help somebody, help to cover their minds, help to expose the biases that they have in their hearts, right? In their minds and in their hearts, and help them come out of that. Right. It is so my platform, We Be the Light, is literally a matter of showing people ways that we can overcome the darkness in the world. This is not to say that I'm always positive. Again, this doesn't mean that it's always rainbows and sunshine. Some of the stuff might offend you. It might hurt your feelings, but that's okay. We can get through this together. Let's go move forward. If there's somebody willing to grow and looking forward to grow, then we are the people to help move that thing forward. And light begets light. So as I'm growing, you're growing. Like it's an ongoing. It's cyclical, right? Where it's a whole cycle. We're learning together and growing together in this thing. And We Be the Light is a place where we can all learn how to do just that.
Fantastic. How I found out. Let me tell y'all how I found out about We Be the Light. So I see that she's going live on Instagram, and I'm looking, and I was like, oh, what is this? I'm laying in the bed with a bonnet on, okay, watching this, right? So then she's like, KaNikki, you got something to say about being a light? Then my phone does that little city thing and says, going live with Nina Brewton. I said, what? Oh, let me take off.
Yeah. So you hear, right? You're going to do it, right? Yeah. Yes.
That was my discovery of We Be the Light. So
yes.
How can we support it? Like what are we doing with it? How can we
Okay, so here's the thing. We Be the Light Wednesdays, is there something specific? That is an IG live that I do. And typically we started back in December. Wow, we started back in December, every week having a different guest and talking to people about how they show up and what it means to show up as light in the world to them and how they show up as light. Because again, whether I'm a waitress, okay, whether I am hosting, whether I am serving my husband here at home, I have the opportunity to be light. Okay, I can be that safe space. I can be the place where people grow and evolve. So my goal is to talk to as many people as possible to unpack and really be able to learn and establish. It's an ongoing journey, but learn exactly what it means to be light. And for every single person that I've talked to, whether it's you in 13, whether it's Liv Warfield or my man's Michael Millions, or producers and rappers or whoever the people are that I've talked to, everyone has a light in them. And so I think that through different conversations is where we can see like, oh, that is a way that I can do better to impact the world. Oh, okay. That is a way that I can inspire young people. Oh, okay. I can use my work as a crochet artist. Shout out to Crochet Kingpin, like, Dwayne B. Right. Like there's ways that we can, and the people that I talk to, we're not only poets, we're not only crochet artists, we're not only this, we're not only that. They're so like, we've learned about me tonight. There's all these things. And so in all these things, I'm going to show up and I'm going to be light. And as many people as I can talk to, about that, we absolutely will. So the goal is to go ahead. We're picking it back up. I kind of took a break during summer because summers be a whole lot. We'd be on the move before we moving and vacation and whatnot. So in September, I have a couple guests. Ramunda Young, who is the co-owner of Mahogany Books in DC. She is actually going to be my guest here in September, along with Bessie Akuba, who is Creative Overlap on Instagram. She is a sister who is dedicated to helping creatives and other multi-potentialites accept that and accept that you're not flighty, you're not whatever the world may say that you are, because you have all of these different visions and talents and things that you can do, but helps to streamline and help us to kind of get a handle on those things and an understanding that we can very well do all the things.
Right.
It's a matter of intentionality. So those are a couple guests that I have coming up in September, and by December for our anniversary, I'm looking to be here and take it from just Instagram and actually StreamYard probably. Shout out to StreamYard and expand it, because it's definitely something that is necessary. It's necessary. Yeah.
Amen. Amen. So scrolling on the bottom of your screen the whole time, you have been seeing how to follow this lovely, beautiful person and your PayPal and things. And then at the top, we have your website, webethelight.com, so that you can go there and support her as well. But I'm going to ask you personally, how can we support you?
Yes. Well, we will always take your monetary seeds. Amen. we give things. Always keep me lifted. Keep me lifted. If you want to contribute any books that you think that particularly middle school or high school students could benefit from, then by all means, either send me a list or send me the books. We can arrange that. Go ahead and donate books, because I do try to donate books to my students as students that I work with throughout the school year, and expose them to some of the new writers and whatnot. I was blessed to be able to, I learned about a lot of the writers that I read from Terry McMillan's and all of that, because every week in Jet magazine, right, we get our Jet, and we had the top.
Oh yeah, the list.
The list, the bestsellers list. And so that's how I ended up. Like, I would legit take that list to the library and go down and I'd read those books, right? That's how I ended up, reading your Eric Jerome Dickey's and whatnot, and Terry McMillan's. But it is my hope. There are so many young adult authors out right now that are just blowing up. And so my goal is to help expose these young people to as many, particularly Black artists, Black writers as possible. All of them, but especially a lot of the young people I work with are ours. They are Black babies, and so and other minorities. So it is my hope to expose them to the arts beyond donating books or anything like that. If you are interested in doing any virtual field trips, because I create virtual field trips for students, you poet laureates, we may need to discuss that and get you.
Please. This sounds very interesting.
Yeah, and I put together a whole little field trip to take them around the world, because again, my goal is to expose them to as much as possible, so that we can expand their view of the world and help them to learn how to stand boldly in it as themselves.
Oh, sure. I love that. So I'm going to ask you one more question. I'm going to ask you to do another piece, and then I'm going to bring my other co-hostesses back to see if they have a question. And then if anybody else has any questions, we can answer those from the chat. So I know this is going to be difficult, right? And I know you're going to start thinking like, oh, Lord, I don't want to forget anybody, but I don't know what everybody does it, okay? Yes, so I'm going to say this is going to be very difficult, okay? So as a poet or a host or whatever, all the other amazing things that you do, I want you to shout out 3 people or venues that have hosted you best. I know, it's so difficult. But this is the shout out section. Who has treated you so well that you just want to shout them out? And I'll preface this by saying I only gave her 3, so don't be tripping.
Don't be mad at me, right?
Right.
I would be remiss if I did not shout out Christoph Jenkins of The Poet Life out of DC. He is definitely one, and he's actually he just had the inaugural Poet Life Fest back in that was just happened July at the end.
It just happened. That's
it just happened.
Like so long.
Last week, right?
Yeah, I think it was the 24th, if I'm not mistaken.
It was. Yep, I believe you're correct. So it's been just about a month now, and so he had that inaugural event there in Southeast, and we had an amazing time. In addition to that, he is a brother who is literally Christoph in The Poet Life. He's like an agent for poets. That's the best way I can describe him, is that he's an agent for poets. So last year he actually reached out to me to work on a collaboration with Bridge Voices, which is an organization, a choral ensemble out of DC, who wanted to do what they could to amplify Black voices, and particularly at the during the summer 2020 after the murder of George Floyd, a lot of people were left like, especially people, white folks were left like, we want to do something, but we don't know like what to do or how to, right? Especially as creatives, as performers themselves. And so Christoph had worked with them in the past, and he came to me and said, look, they're looking to do this thing. And so long story short, we came up with a piece called America, You're Beautiful. And ultimately it is a love letter from my heart to America. Like, I love you, but you need to get your life. And so definitely Christoph in that he's always providing ways to, get poets out there and things. Let me see. Another one. Does it have to be something current or like?
No.
Okay. Then I would have to go. I cannot not give the Fuzz Band and Fuzzy Wednesdays love, because we gotta go. We gotta take it all the way back to the beginning, and we'll put them in Urban Safari in the same. And because again, these are the places where I kind of worked my chops, right, and kind of got my little weight up, and I was exposed to different artists all throughout, and different spoken word artists, and got a chance to kind of find my voice on the mic. And these organizations were two that definitely did that. That beat, shout out to Queen Sheba. She was the Urban Safari. And so we'll take that. That's the old school. We got Christoph, and definitely the Versus crew, and Lorna. I gotta give honor to where honors due. Lorna was doing a great work with Versus, Tuesday Versus in Richmond and Wednesday Versus in DC. And so I did actually have the opportunity to do Versus I think a year or two before she passed, and it's always love and always a great experience. So yeah, I think those
you did good with that. You did so good with that.
And now all these other things people are flooding into my mind, and I'm like, she said 3, just keep it there.
Yeah, you're doing good. You're doing good. So I am going to give you the screen one more time so you can close us almost out with a lovely piece. Yes. So for one more time, give it up for the bald head queen, Nina.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So this is actually, if you all happen to make your way over to my Instagram page, my Instagram timeline at Baldhead Queen, you will see this piece in one of my most recent posts. It is kind of biographical. Can I know words? Trinity. I will not ask for forgiveness for embracing my Blackness. I will not put it up on a shelf for you to gaze upon as a novelty, acknowledging it only when you need to feel entertained or protected by my Black girl sass. Deep within my melanin is grace beyond measure. My Blackness used against me for so long that the beatings nearly broke me. I won't apologize for owning my femininity. I am Mother Earth, as I was created by the Creator to bring forth life anew. My hands, loving and nurturing, cradling hearts that have been broken. My smile, the sun, replenishing each seed sown into this cold, dark world. I am not sorry for my spirituality. I am a believer. I am a lover. I be the light this Christ's light shines from within, made perfect by his love, sinner yet righteous through he who created this Black woman in this flesh born of spirit, reborn by the Spirit. I am a trilogy, my story threefold. I am a deity made in the image of the Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, alive in me for all the world to see. I will not beg your pardon for loving all of humanity. I will love as God loves me, spreading peace, love, and light, divinity, alive in threes. Peace.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Lovely. So I am going to add Sherry back. Sherry, hey, boo.
Hey, y'all. You muted, honey.
Come on back, girl genius. Come on back.
My bad.
Hey, y'all.
So, Nina, the first question, one of my questions has been, and I sure enough forgot to ask it last week, and I apologize to last week's guest. What have you been doing since the start of the quarantine and the shelter-at-home orders for self-care to maintain a level mental space?
I spend a lot of time. I do journal. I've gotten back to journaling, so I do try to do that every morning. Again, just to give a brain dump, right? All the things that I can't. Yeah, we dump the brain. That Mr. Brewton and I gonna start walking again. We ain't been walking, but we were walking, getting our little, right? Because we ain't getting no younger. In addition to that, I really think, and I mentioned it earlier, it's just really taking the time to breathe. I have been literally speaking out loud to myself in like a whole new way. Like I literally, a young person asked me today, do you always just kind of talk to yourself? And I was like, honey, sometimes you got to talk yourself through this thing. Like, yes, like Nina, no. Nina, slow down. Nina, okay. Like you really have to sometimes just stop and back up and pause. And as I mentioned earlier, learning to walk and stand in grace is the biggest lesson in practice that I'm having to learn over this past year since the pandemic. So self-care involves a lot of time laying in the sun, because when it's warm, I love being out on the patio at the beach in the sun. And again, the writing, the journaling, and just the taking time to breathe and give yourself space to just be.
So I'm going to pull this other question from my interview. So I know you're a writer, you sing, because I heard you give a little bit of pipes earlier, and I was really excited about to hear that. Do you have another creative outlet, or is there something you wish to learn?
During COVID, we got a free piano because life is random that way.
I like that.
Y'all can have this piano, y'all come get it. It's literally. So that's one of those things that growing up in poverty, I didn't have the opportunity. I didn't have the opportunity to learn, and so my goal is to do that. And I'm not quite on like my Kobe Bryant. I didn't taught myself this piece because I went to impress my wife just yet, but I'm learning. And so I think that is a creative outlet. And I mentioned that earlier when it comes down to like songwriting and things like that. I think that I need to begin to lend myself to music a little more, because it is certainly a part of me. It definitely is. But I again, being shook all these years, being around these amazing singers and musicians, I'm like, oh, I'll sing a little background here and there. But I really I will say this, since COVID came and we haven't been in church as much and, in live open mics and things like that, I don't get to sing as much. So the singing is the thing that that is the outlet that I want to, in getting on that piano and learning the melodies and learning to hear where they come from and putting the pieces together is something that I'm looking forward to doing more of.
Okay. All right.
Well, that's a lot.
I love that answer.
I'm going to jump in and ask you one of my author questions, and I'll hold off on, I usually ask the last questions and I'll hold off on it until after we check the chat. But one of my author questions, so again, because I usually focus exclusively on books and writing process, and since we talk so much about reading, let me start with, I don't know if you can see the backstage part and could see my face when you start talking about Song of Solomon. I have actually read the book. It's amazing. However, the first time I tried to read the book, let's start there, I threw the book across the room.
Literally, I believe
and
you.
Got mad. I got through like maybe 2 chapters. I couldn't do it. I was like, I cannot do this. I'm done. I threw this book. I was like, I can't get back to this. It took me a year to come back to that book, start all over again, and said, I'm going to make myself read this. I'm glad I did. It's just, trust me, it's worth the journey. But if anybody's asked, it's a struggle, because you're like, what is happening right now?
Man, what are you saying? It's beautiful.
It's so nuanced. It's so nuanced. It's ridiculous. And you're just like, if you don't know that going in, you're like, okay, where are we going? Where are we going? Why are we here? But if you're waiting for the instant gratification, it doesn't happen ever. Just know this. But the question I ask, and it's probably, I don't think you've answered it, and it might be another tough question for you. Here you go.
All right.
I always ask my authors, what is, you can take any or all of this, your favorite book, your favorite author, or your favorite quote. Yeah. It's like, I gotta pick one, really?
Right, because
you can take any or all, or part of that, however you want.
I will give my favorite quote of the moment, and then I'll give a little B. There's a little my favorite quote, and it's I heard it in a podcast. Someone was like, I was at an event and a psychologist said this. So I don't even know where the quote came from. But a mind filled with shame cannot learn. Can't. Let it breathe. It can't. And I heard that a couple of years ago. It may have been last year. And that thing changed the game for me. I was like, sir, you ain't never lied. But you think about it, you know, all that shame will hold people up from being able to receive things, from even trying.
Yep.
It paralyzes so many people and we cannot learn. And so that is a mind filled with shame cannot learn.
That just did one of these. Like,
yeah.
Yep. And apparently we'll give you writer's block too.
You said what, KaNikki?
Apparently we'll give you writer's block too.
Writer's block. One of my favorite quotes deals with writer's block. And it's kind of a different thing. But one of my favorite quotes ever was from a professor of mine when I was in grad school who said, there is no such thing as writer's block. It's simply the mindset that what you have in your head will never be what you put on paper will never be as good as what you have in your head.
Oh.
It's a fear that whatever's in your head will never be as good once you write it down.
Yeah. Wow.
And I was like, well, damn.
I just had a writer's block quote that I saw. I'll have to send it to KaNikki when I find it on Twitter the other day. Somebody wrote something and I was like, yo, yeah, that makes sense. Of course, I can't think of it right now. But it helped bring that writer's block into perspective like it really did. And that's really true. That's a good point, though. Because we be caught up, honey.
Yeah, it's just this weird irrational fear that whatever's in my head is never going to look as good when I write it down.
Yeah. And it's crazy. I've had, in addition to that, kind of piggybacking off of that, had the fear that, okay, that one thing that I wrote was it. Like,
boom.
Yeah.
Like there's no more after that. Like even when we were talking about America, You're Beautiful, I was like, oh my God, this is like the best piece I've written in so long. And there's nothing else, right? Like that's it, right? Like, man, no, that's not it. What you mean?
No, there's always more. There's always more. There's always source material somewhere.
Right.
I am a concept writer, and I'm telling you, I will pull the old Stephen King method out of my butt every single time. Like, what if this inanimate object did this impossible thing?
That's great.
Like, what if he had every horror movie, every horror novel he's ever written? What if X object could do this thing that they're not supposed to? Like, what if you had a car that was possessed and could kill people? Like literally, that's every book he's ever done.
And it makes sense. Clearly, we see that, and we be in it too, like like a possessed car. What? That's Oh, okay.
If you think in big concepts, it always works like that. It's like the best thing ever.
Now, you all are all fiction writers?
No.
Poet.
I am a poet.
Bro.
I'm actually a several kinds of writer. I am a poet.
Okay.
I am a full-time technical writer. That's my actual profession.
Oh, okay.
And then I actually do fiction.
Okay.
Yeah, I was blown by that when I found that out. I was like, I don't know you at all. When we started doing this, had this platform, like I found out like what the other people, what we do as like our day job. I was like, I don't know you at all. Like you do what? I did not know you.
You work for the CIA, what?
My full-time job, I'm actually a speechwriter.
Right. I'm like, I love it. What?
No. I think the funniest reaction I got to my full-time job is I was traveling with a younger poet this weekend, and I said, hey, just meet me at my day job. And we'll leave from here where we got to go. And I was doing something on an Excel spreadsheet with numbers and math. And her face was like, you do this?
I didn't even know this.
Exactly.
There's numbers involved here. I don't know.
Was the car land?
Yeah.
It's like it's like you're doing something with numbers and you're making them like
I don't even know what this is right now. What?
Yes.
Who are you?
It's
And
like
what did
you
do
are a
with Carrie?
poet. I'm like, on the day
So
job,
funny.
I do numbers.
Hilarious. That's me. I'm like, I'll write about it. I can write all about the numbers, but I'm not doing nothing with no numbers.
Me neither. I can write some money, and that's it. I can write them money numbers, and that's it. That's all I got.
No,
But if you need anybody, if you need a bout manager for your slam, please hire Simply Sherry, because I'm telling you, I called my mama when that was over. She volunteered to do this. Well, I'll come out and I'll be your bout. She was not playing with it. She was not playing. I was like, okay.
Look,
I set up my computer. It's like, let's go.
because of numbers, I have judged slams a couple times, and I'm like, oh, y'all don't want me in this because I'll have your stuff at the end. I'm like, wait, I'm trying to get my papers together, my numbers, and wait.
That's all I do is sit in the back during slam. I sit in the back and I run numbers, not because I actually care. It's because it keeps me distracted from not like being nervous about slam.
Yeah.
So everybody's like, "So we didn't catch the scores." I was like, "Here you go. This one, this one, this one, this one." They're like, "How?" Because I'm trying. I listen to the poem, but I'm trying not to let my nerves catch me. So I'm sitting back there writing numbers.
That is hilarious. Maybe I need to get lost in numbers too sometimes.
No, it's just it's just what I do. That's all I got. That's all.
Yes, it's amazing. Again, these two right here can run the whole world. You understand?
I want to be like y'all when I grow up.
No. You don't.
Stay over there with your little doodles.
No, trust me. Danielle has been on has read some of the things I go through on my day job with people with reading comprehension issues. That's all I'm gonna say.
I'm mostly okay right now. I'm good right now. Like 99.9%. I'm good. I don't have to worry about that right now. I've had some places though where I'm just like, oh God, how? How are we here? How are you breathing, walking, and talking at the same time?
Yeah.
Like, how are you functioning?
Definitely.
Facts, though.
But it's facts, though. It's facts. It's real. Because you know. So Danielle, I'm gonna let you ask the last question, which is also gonna be dun 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 dun.
No. This was actually easier than people think it is. I just don't think about it. Just throw it out there, because
man, you know who you're talking to. You don't.
No. Don't just erase your brain for a second. Just erase the whole thing. And I'm going to tell you why this is easy.
Okay.
Because usually the first 2 or 3 people you think of to answer this question are the correct answers. You can't. There's no wrong answer here. There's literally no wrong answer here.
Just give it. Okay, right. I'm ready.
Now that you have been on the show, who do you think would make a good guest? And it could be for any of the segments, books, poets and platforms, art plus therapy, and from behind the microphone. Those are the 4 segments. Any of those, who would make a good guest? And you may throw some people out that we've had before. It doesn't matter.
Gotcha. Nisha Himes is how do I explain it? She's a poet, a slam poet, first of all. Down here, she's part of Verb Bender's poet. Okay, with Steph Love and I don't want to mess it up. There's a couple folk out of Norfolk. She's also Nisha Himes, and she's also an advocate, a survivor of domestic abuse, and now an advocate. She has an organization called the Grow Foundation, where she literally helps to bring women and other people out of abusive relationships and offer support. She also serves the city of Newport News, the Newport News Police Department as a consultant for their domestic violence. Like, she consults with officers to teach them how to deal with these situations, these calls. Yeah, because a lot of times, officers will show up and they don't know what the hell they're doing. Right. So, then the nuance involved in that. So I think Nisha Himes will definitely be a good one. I have a lovely young lady named Nikita Faulkner, who's I know her from her time at Hampton University. She's she's actually a mental health specialist as well. I can't think of her day job, like you say, but she on Instagram, and she's writing a book. She was raised by a mother who was narcissistic, like legit narcissists and had disorders and things like that. And so a lot of her platform is talking about helping people recognize the various types of manipulative, how do I want to say it, mental health issues that we might have, or what the people that we're in relationships with may have. So again, a writer, dope mother, young mother, and and she was actually part of a group called the Left Side Poets at Hampton University. Now I think about it, so real dope work over there. Okay, and then the third person. Let me see if I can't bring a brother on that bit here. Mm-hmm. It might be Christoph. I don't know why not. Right?
Hey, okay, yeah.
Trust me, as soon as you mentioned him earlier, I was like,
I thought about it too.
We should slide him in through here.
Yeah, Christoph for sure. So yeah, I think that's the 3. You said 3?
Yeah, however many you want.
Yeah.
But if you got a couple more after the 3, feel free to shoot any of us an email and or we're friends on Instagram and everything else at this point. So just shoot a message to any of us and let us know, like, if you think of somebody else.
Y'all gotta talk to Christine Platt, the Afro Minimalist. She actually just released the Afro Minimalist Guide to Living with Less, and so her whole thing. She's also a young gay YA writer. She also has a novel for adults, so she's doing all the things. Is a raising sister at a DC. So part of her thing.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
I know who you mean. Yes.
Real gorgeous, old long neck and long, beautiful self. Yeah, that's Christine.
I gotta love it. I want to thank again, Nina. I want to thank you for being here today. This was a fun interview. Awesome job, Nikki, as always.
Thank you. Because it's difficult to interview your friends.
It is
It
hard.
Weird. It can get weird.
Hard.
It gets weird.
I want to say, because I did one last year, and that's how I started. I said, first off, y'all need
to interviewed me,
the homie. When I interviewed you, and when I interviewed Teresa the Songbird, I was really like, y'all, this is the homie.
I've had a couple like that where, like, I know you well, but I have to pretend I don't know you.
Right.
And what a segue, because that's sure enough what we all got to do next week.
Oh,
we all act like we don't know this person.
She said, "Who's next week?"
Next week is our quarterly roundtable interview.
Ooh.
And our featured guest next week, to much excitement, and I'm so glad we are finally able to get her on, will be Love the Poet.
Ooh.
We don't have to pretend.
We won't have to act like we don't know her.
Right.
Amazingly enough, y'all gonna get some new stuff that you didn't know, though.
Right.
That's what's beautiful. But like KaNikki said, like, oh shoot, I didn't know that.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Yeah, so it's going to be a great interview, and I cannot wait of course, I say this every week. I cannot wait until then. Like, I'm happy I'm in this interview. I'm really excited. I'm like, all right, next week.
Hey, I'm excited for
every
y'all.
show,
it's
though,
really
has been, for what it's worth, every show has been absolutely amazing. Every single one. Like, we've never had a not great guest.
Exactly.
That's true.
Exactly.
I've had all right guests before. And it was actually a friend, and I was like, that didn't go well. You didn't give me, like, is this your interview voice? Why are you talking to me like that? Relax, sir.
Oh, we tell anybody in a minute. This is a conversation amongst friends. Bring your drink, bring your wine, bring your brown liquor. Let's sit and relax.
Bring your liquor, bring your wine. Talk like we in my living room.
And we just gonna talk.
Yes, indeed.
But everyone seems to get a lot out of this, so we really appreciate it.
Great work. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
So I see that we had a very good crowd watching tonight. If you please like, follow, and subscribe. So on YouTube and on Facebook, help us out. Thank you for the comments. We have several of our previous episodes still up, so feel free to go back down through our YouTube channel. As I start getting a little bit more organized in my life, I have some major stuff going on behind the scenes.
Everybody. That's everybody.
No, I got a big one. That's
Yeah.
just some stuff happening. And so as soon as I can get like into a relaxed state of flow again, I'll be able to start posting some of our older interviews on our YouTube channel. So so please like and subscribe. There's some good stuff back there. Everyone, please stay safe, wash your hands. Reminder, there's more stuff out running them streets than COVID. So take care of yourselves.
Yeah.
And I will see you all soon.
That part.
Be well, sisters. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.